Hello and welcome to level 56 of the Thoughts and Players podcast, the gaming podcast with bold takes and no strings attached. I am Jeremy, here once again with my two compadres. Of course, I have David.
What up?
And I have Cory.
Hello, folks.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are you doing this fine evening?
Doing great.
I'm irritated.
Well, let's jump right into that, right?
Yeah.
Why are you irritated,
Okay,
man?
so-
What's
Strange
going
energy to
on?
bring.
About like
I
5
know.
days ago, right? My keyboard started acting up. The left control acts like it's stuck. So when I'm in the middle of gaming, I just all of a sudden crouch for no reason, and I just can't uncrouch, and I die. And I've tried a lot of things. I even asked a tech person that I'm in a Discord with. Still haven't resolved it. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But besides that, I'm good.
PC Master Race, huh?
It's pretty
You
frustrating.
really gotta mess up situations where you want to teabag after a kill. People still do that? I'm assuming
yeah.
so.
No, yeah.
You can't
It's going
you can't-
nowhere.
You can't teabag, you just
just
bag.
Yeah.
Fortunate. Cory, anything frustrating you this evening?
I'm trying to think of something, but no, everything's going fine.
He's too lighthearted to be annoyed.
To be frustrated, irritated.
I mean,
Yeah.
it happens, but not tonight. Not tonight.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Cool. Yeah. I have a generally irritable disposition, I think. So,
What is that?
I'm just,
Well, I mean, like in general, he's saying like it would be more surprising if he came in here. He's like, I'm in a good mood.
I'm in a fantastic, jovial, lighthearted. Nothing's wrong. Yeah.
I think it's all put on. I think most days, 90% of your time, you spend it very happy, and you have to put on this irritable look and feel to really make your presence known. I don't
know.
He's our silent.
Very interesting insight there.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, chickens, ducks, and hens, and those who identify as none, we welcome you into this level/episode. We are glad you're here. And of course, we talk about games. That's what this is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured that we would start talking about games.
Yeah, the video
And,
guy.
All right. Yeah, let's do it. That's what this podcast is for.
I believe so. So let's talk about what we're playing. Who wants to talk first? What games have you been going through? I can go first. I think I went first past 2 times in a row because I was just playing one game. That is
Okay.
not the case this time, but I can go. Okay, I will go.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I am now playing.
How greedy.
I am now playing 2 games because I beat
one
2
up.
games. One game I beat, Wildermyth.
Really?
You beat
It
it?
is it. The stories have effectively come to an end. There are I beat all the storied campaigns. There are generic 3-act and 5-act campaigns you can go through. And then there's legacy 3-act and 5-act campaigns you can do with heroes that are legacy that you want to level up. I haven't done the legacy ones. Going to give it a little bit of a break, but it's effectively over. It's done. It's just the ones that aren't story just have generic, acts and instances you have to do. There's no overarching story. So,
Okay.
I knocked that all out.
What are you going to do?
55 hours dotted in. If I had to round up my experience with Wildermyth in one word, it's sublime.
Really? Wow. Okay.
What a sublime experience. Yes.
Is this like a recommend to everybody, or is it specifically for
No.
it's your taste, obviously. So is it,
yeah.
not for everyone.
I would
could
recommend-
David or I play it.
If you're
we could
into
play it, obviously. But
if you're into tactics games, which for one, maybe give it a look. I didn't check for sure, but I believe it is on sale. The Steam sale's going right now, so it might be on
Okay.
sale. If you're into tactics games, if you're into I would say that though it can be punishing, it is punishing at times. I think it's generally pretty easy to get into and progress and feel like you're, making your way in the world. So if you like those, and then also if you're just a fan of story, if you're just stories, if you're really into role playing, right, getting into the minds, creating the mythos behind these characters, then I would recommend it. I think those are great things about the game. That's why it's so exceptional. So sublime experience. And then the other game that I played and beat that I mentioned I was going to play, Shadow Warrior 3. You know what? I went ahead, like when this episode will go out, we'll have a review for it. It'll be on Patreon, and then it'll be later on our YouTube channel. Would not describe that experience as sublime at all. Quite the opposite.
I was gonna ask that.
So yeah, those are the games I have been playing. I will say it is very fast and frenetic. And
is it fun?
You know, this
is a weird thing because we haven't heard about Shadow Warrior because you said you were going to play it, and in between episodes you played it and beat it, so there wasn't an episode where you like really broke it down. So
exactly, I will say it pales in comparison to Shadow Warrior 2.
Okay, that was the high of the series. Number 2?
That was the high. Yeah, that was the high. Especially like going through and playing that game again. I'm like, oh wow, I had it good with Shadow Warrior 2. You know, I said Shadow Warrior 2 is a pretty good game. It's a pretty fun game, but it's definitely steps ahead of Shadow Warrior 3. Shadow Warrior 3 carries a lot of the fun combat systems over, but it does get rid of some things. It gets rid of a lot of RPG and customization elements. I think I beat it in like 4.5, 5 hours.
Really?
Wow. You know what I'm saying? And it comes to FPSs, I'm an idiot. So I got to assume that anyone else that's decently competent in something like a Doom or something like that, they could probably nail it in near 4.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really short.
Was this a $60 game?
I think it was a $50 or $60 game when it launched.
Wow.
I played the definitive edition on Game Pass, Xbox Series X.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's been a year plus since the original game came out, I think. Either a year plus since the original game came out or a year plus since the definitive edition came out, I think. Either one of those. So, I mean, really no excuse for it. Again, distributed by or published by Devolver Digital. You guys are letting me down, Devolver. Track to Yomi was garbage. This wasn't garbage, but it was underwhelming. You guys got to get your bleep together, man.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, they're kind of like devolving.
Oh, God.
Great play. Great wordplay. But that's
kind of fallen out of love with Devolver a little bit, Jeremy. That's a publisher, but
not reason. They got to get their act together, man.
For sure.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what I've been playing, man. What about David? What have you been playing?
No. That's what you beat. What are you playing?
Oh, that's true.
Because you said
that is a good correction. That is a good correction. Gotcha. So what have I been playing? I have been playing BioShock Infinite. Got started on that, right? And another game that I've been playing is I started on Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, but it's Xbox. I know I played it before. Started on it again. Another game, you know what? I'll give you a third one that I've been playing, and I didn't mention it because I'm kind of ashamed.
Uh-oh.
I have put probably 30-something hours in the House Flipper, and I don't
Is
really.
That the one where you like clean up the house,
clean and renovate houses? Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't really enjoy it, but I feel compelled to complete it. If that makes any sense.
I think I can understand. It's almost like you're achieving these small little goals, and it's like, okay, hey, I don't know. Maybe that's not it.
Yeah, I mean, I walk in there and I'm like, oh, all right, I got to take this wall out and I can wall up this, and then I can create another bedroom and I can increase the value because now I got a 3-2 instead of a 2-2. It's all ridiculous stuff. But yeah, that's the other one I've been playing.
Going back to BioShock Infinite, do you have any experience with the BioShock series at all?
None.
Or no?
None.
Really? And you started with BioShock. Infinite.
And I started with Infinite. Yep.
David, do you have any BioShock experience?
Not at all.
Wow. Okay. So number one is like, I feel like you maybe should have started at number one. That's
probably
like the GOAT, you know, and Infinite I think is a little bit worse, but do you know the story behind one? Like, do you know?
It's dealing with cults and stuff.
Well, not the story. Do you know the big thing about BioShock 1?
No, I don't.
I feel like you should go and play that one like immediately. Like, not saying Infinite's a bad game, but like,
was Infinite like a prequel?
And it's a sequel. It takes place in the sky instead of underwater, but like
That's part of the reason. I do
understand.
not like underwater, very
yes,
weird,
right? You do not.
claustrophobic vibes.
Remember, he's afraid of that water.
Right. Well, I'm afraid of. I don't like water creatures, according to Cory. But yeah, I'm sticking with BioShock Infinite. I want to get into it that way, and then once I'm comfortable, if I'm really invested in the world, which I think I will be, then I'll go back, knock out 1 and 2, which I think got remastered, right?
Yes. I think if you beat BioShock Infinite and you enjoyed it, it's mandatory that you at least play BioShock 1. BioShock 2 is kind of not as good as BioShock 1 in a lot of people's eyes, but BioShock 1 is, I think, almost in like a pantheon of that time when it came out. Like, it's one of the GOATs of that time.
But I mean, also understanding when you're talking about not as good, it's comparative. It's like a Godfather comparison. Like, people say 2 isn't as good as 1. It's like, okay, well, 1's the greatest movie of all time, and the second one is a very, very good movie or a great movie. So I feel like BioShock 1 is probably exceptional, and then BioShock 2 was just good, and then I've heard a lot of good things about BioShock Infinite.
I think the rankings from the general public would go BioShock 1, BioShock Infinite, BioShock 2. Obviously, they all have their fans, and there might be some things that are better about certain games, but and I don't know if BioShock 1 directly ties into BioShock Infinite, because they do have good gameplay in there with the guns and the I can't remember what they're called, the powers.
Okay.
I can't remember what they're called, but I don't know if it has like a direct connection to Infinite or not.
Gotcha.
I never finished Infinite, but BioShock 1 is a great game, and you definitely should go back if you have the chance.
Okay.
Definitely heard good things about those games. So
yeah, for sure.
But that's it for me. That's what I've been playing.
I'll go. I did try Dead Space again, and I died, so I haven't completed chapter 2 yet.
Okay. Slow and steady.
Yeah.
Good, nice try. Good try.
Haven't been playing a lot of computer stuff because Control Key ain't working, but I've been playing a lot of BeatStar on my phone. That's about it. The rhythm game's going.
No ball sort, man.
No what?
No ball sort? You ever played ball sort on your mobile?
No, what is that?
What's ball sort?
It's a game where you sort balls in a tube. There's different colored balls, and you sort them in a tube.
The ad game?
No, I have not.
That shows up on ads?
Yeah.
I do enjoy those kind of puzzles. I do enjoy those.
It does look like a soothing game.
I think I'm at level 250 something.
Oh wow!
Dang.
This is your Candy Crush.
Well, speaking of ad games, I did download that Royal Match.
Oh yeah,
and I do play that every so often. It's basically Candy Crush, except instead of candy, you're building rooms in a castle for the king.
Yeah. What about Wordscapes?
No. My son plays that. I do not.
Gotcha.
It's fairly good. It's like level 68 or something.
Okay.
Speaking of those type of games, have you guys played Hole.io?
No.
What.io?
Okay, so the IO games, I think they just immediately copy very popular games. They do it very cheaply, and they put them out as quickly as they can to capitalize on other games' successes.
Mm-hmm.
So recently they made a Survivor.io, which is a riff off of Vampire Survivor. An automatic kind of battler where you're just moving around and surviving. But back in the day, I really loved Hole.io. Have you guys heard of Donut Country?
No.
Yes,
you have. So that's a puzzle game where you're a hole, and you have to figure out how to get your hole big enough to be able to fit everything in it. You start off small by taking a can of pop.
Oh, okay.
And it gets a little bit bigger, and then you take, something a little bit bigger, blah, blah, blah. But Hole.io for the mobile version was like a battle royal version where you're in this giant city and you're going around and collecting things. Your hole gets bigger, and then you're trying to suck up the other holes to get even bigger, and last person standing is the winner. That was a really fun mobile game for a while. So
yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Sounds a little like Spore.
Yeah. The first act of Spore, right? You're trying to kill the fishies, eat the fishies to grow. Man, Spore, what a disappointment.
Massive.
I'm gonna jump into what I was playing, if that's okay
go
with
ahead.
you.
Yeah, let's continue.
All right, so I have also beat a game, so I'm playing 2 new games.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped back to one that I'd previously bought and I didn't know if I'd go back to it, but Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. So this is the prequel to Final Fantasy VII. It originally came out on PSP. This is a remake of that game, or a remaster, more of a remaster, I would say. It's a PSP game that came to PS5, and I'm enjoying it. I've got like 3 hours into it right now. It's not too long of an RPG. It's action oriented, which is cool. And like I said, it's a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. It tells you kind of how the story got to that point at the beginning of Final Fantasy VII. And really weird, I had never played Final Fantasy VII before I bought this game. So this was my first foray into the Final Fantasy VII world. And then even after beating this game, I didn't play Final Fantasy VII until the remake. So I love the remake. That was my game of the year it came out. I love Crisis Core. It's probably my favorite PSP game. So jumping back after playing the remake and now seeing a lot of this stuff, it makes a lot of sense, because you know how prequels go. They do a lot of like nods and hints towards the original game. But if you never played the original game, you kind of miss those and you don't understand the significance of them. So getting to see this and play it now, it's been a lot of fun. Combat is not as good as the remake of Final Fantasy VII, but it is still pretty enjoyable. And because it was a PSP game, they focused on like short bursts of missions instead of like these really like long, drawn out, like epic sort of stuff. And that's kind of what I want right now. It's been fun, you know. It's like 5 minutes and I'm done a mission and I get a reward. So pretty good. Okay. I was also talking about what game do I want to buy. I ended up going with Octopath Traveler 2. So
that's what you said you'd likely end up going with, right?
Yes, I did end up buying that. It looks like a 16-bit game on steroids. I did a podcast, a bonus level with a guest, and I talked about my 5 favorite graphics of all time. And Octopath Traveler 1 was my number 1 graphics of all time. So needless to say, I love the graphics in this game. They look so beautiful. It looks like a diorama. The lighting is perfect. The music in this game is really well done. I am having a little bit of dissociation with it, though, because it's a very serious game, right? Like, it's not a kid's game in terms of the story. It takes itself very seriously. And these 16-bit characters, while I love the graphics, I can't take the story as seriously as in like if I had like up-to-date graphics with like real character models. So like it's weird. I wouldn't change the graphics, but at the same time, it's stopping me from being like, oh wow, I really feel what this character is feeling. Like I'm not. It looks like a little, you know, Super Nintendo game.
It's kind of messing up the immersion just a little bit for you, as far as
right?
And
there's nothing they can do, because, like I said, I wouldn't change the graphics. I think these are the most beautiful graphics in the world. You know, the best art style possible. So very early in that game, I think that's like a 80-hour game to finish one of the 8-person stories or something. So needless to say, I will be giving updates on that game as things progress. Maybe not every episode, but I bought it on my Steam Deck, so that's a before bedtime type game. And the reason I'm playing these games, go ahead, David. Sorry.
I was just saying, so do you feel that you can't immerse yourself in there as much because of how well the graphics have become in other games?
Yeah, pretty much.
Came out 15 years ago. Do you think
so not even just the art style. I think
the
it
art
is.
Style. Okay.
Like so like one of my favorite RPGs of all time is Final Fantasy X. And at the time it had amazing graphics, but now you wouldn't be like, oh, these are top of the line. You know, they're still pretty good, but I could play that game and definitely get immersed because the characters look like what they're supposed to look like. They look like humans, or they look like the creatures that are part of the game. Like I said, it's just 16-bit characters. So and they're doing these really epic, you know, like stories. Like this guy was framed for murdering his wife and child, so in a house fire, and he's a mage, so he was the only one that could do it. That's like heavy stuff, you know. But it's not like I guess I'm saying, like, I don't think this game will make me cry. Not that I've ever cried at a game yet, but I don't think this will be the game to be like, I'm so touched by their stories, because at the end of the day, it's a little 16-bit guy on a screen, kind of just with word bubbles, and it is voice acted, but it's just like. But the combat's great. Love that. Like I said, I'll talk more about that in the future. A couple hours in right now, but liking that. And I'm able to play those games because I beat Hogwarts Legacy, gentlemen. Yes.
Really, even as a House Hufflepuff, you were able to get through.
Yeah. I really made a name for the Hufflepuff crowd right there.
Did you just like beat the story, or did you like 100% complete it?
Yeah. So what I did is I took a look at my life. And I made an executive decision that I do not have the time to 100% a game or even do a lot of side quests. So I'm going to mainline this game after about 15 hours. And I mainlined it. And it still took me about another 10 hours. I did small side quests here and there, but yeah, I did the story, beat it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. What was that?
Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah. I did do one of the side quests that I would highly recommend to anyone is doing the dark art side quest. Unless you're role playing a really, paragon character, do the dark arts because you get the 3 unforgivable spells. One being Avada Kedavra. And that's a killing spell.
Yeah,
and,
just run around the school.
And it's so awesome because it actually just kills anything. Like trolls that took me like 5 minutes to kill and having to dodge and use all my magic. I just did one spell and he died. Like just fell on the ground and died from that one spell. And before the game came out, I had read like, okay, it takes a long time to recharge. It doesn't take that long. Like I was able to do it like twice in it. Like I would start off by like Avada Kedavra, killing a troll. And then by the time I got to like one of the last few guys, I would end it with that. And man, that made it so much fun. Like it's so much fun using that spell because a lot of games will give you like, this is the weapon of lore or this is the mystic staff. And you use it, it's like, it's a slightly better than what I've had.
Right. It's the giant sword from Zelda. Well, not that bad. Right. But
right.
It's kind of like that. Big lore. It's kind of like,
it doesn't do much
better.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this kills people right away. It's awesome. Except for the last boss. It does not kill the last boss in one hit, which is a little disappointing, but I understand their logic behind that. But yeah, I really enjoyed Harry Potter. Something I was telling you guys on the PvP show before show is the devs did a really, really good job of implementing the theme of Hogwarts and Harry Potter into this game because without that, I don't think I would have finished it just because of the type of game it is. I do not really enjoy open world games. So the theme was so strongly implemented that because I'm a fan of it, it really propelled me to want to finish this game. So not saying it was a bad game. Like if you're not a fan of Harry Potter, you can still love this game. Just for me personally, the open world aspect, I'm like, I don't care. I'm not exploring things like I used to. I just want to go from point to point and kind of do the stuff I'm supposed to do. So yeah. Which at this point in my life, I think is kind of a big achievement. Not my biggest gaming achievement, but I do want to know what your guys' biggest gaming achievements, because I have a few. Hogwarts does not make it upon that Mount Rushmore, but it just got me thinking, like, what is something I've done in a game that has been kind of extraordinary? So I want to hear your guys' stuff first, and then I'll kind of hit you with a few of mine.
Okay, I'll go. So a minor, like, first, like, key achievement for me was getting Prestige 10 in Call of Duty 4. Like that was the first game I ever had a prestige in, level up and stuff like that. It just felt amazing getting to Prestige 10. But I think my biggest one is, and no matter how lame it is, but I played Bomberman on Sega when I was younger, and I could never beat it. But I always remembered the password to the last level. And so I picked it up. I was probably like 23 or whatever. And I was like, I'll try it again. So I just put in the passcode and I finally beat it. So it took like 10, 12 years
10 plus years.
That game. And I was just like, finally, I beat this game. I don't remember what happens anymore. But yeah, I felt relieved. I was like, this is such a long progress just waited to be completed.
That's awesome. Yeah. You're a music guy. Have you played guitar? You played Guitar Hero, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever beat Through the Fire and Flames? Like on the hardest?
I never got good enough. I could beat it on the second hardest difficulty, but not the hardest.
Okay. I was just wondering. I thought maybe you had done it.
I tried. My brother could full combo it.
Oh my God. Okay. Get him on. That's an achievement.
Yeah, he's really good at the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. Well, I got 2 achievements I can think of right off the bat. One of them I feel like it's not really impressive at all. I was able to take first big achievement. I was able to take Oregon State in NCAA football 14 from, I believe, a 2-star program to a 5-star program, and I did it by creating what was the most elite defensive backfield in the nation. Okay. I was so proud of myself. I'd go in and I'd find these cornerbacks. And by the way, you would know just this is a little detail that makes me a bit more proud of it. And I don't know how people will take it, right? I found these cornerbacks, recruited these cornerbacks, and not purposefully, but a fair amount of these cornerbacks were white guys. And they were some of the greatest cornerbacks. They were each of them having 10, 11 interceptions in a season, 20 pass deflections. They were shut down. It became DBU, defensive back U. All right. That's one of my biggest achievements.
David, I don't know if you watch football, David.
I was going to ask what a cornerback is.
Being a cornerback, someone who defends like the quarterback from throwing the ball. Like they'll defend the wide receivers and try to like make sure they don't get the ball. But being white, good, and a cornerback is unheard of.
It's unheard of.
There's not even one in the NFL right now.
And well, you know what? There were several of them. If they made it from my school, because we were DBU. We had nothing.
Hilarious.
Full on, great, classic, legendary white cornerbacks. So that's my one achievement. All right.
Okay.
My other achievement that I was really proud of was Civilization 2.
Ooh.
Like beating that for the first time. Because it's such a huge game and I was so young at the time. Like being able to knock that out, I was like, oh, wow. Like I got it now. I'm officially a Civ player, you know?
So, that's impressive. Which way did you win in that? Because there's 4 ways to win, correct?
There is. My greatest achievement follows one of my most heart-wrenching failures. So I did it by domination. So that means like you just conquer everyone.
Yeah.
And so I did it as Shaka Zulu of the Zulus. Mm. The first time I tried, I had conquered the entire world. It was like 10 turns left. The enemy had one city on the whole map. And I didn't find it. And the game ended and it was like, ugh. And I'm like, well, what do you mean, ugh? Like it's ridiculous. So I went back, I ran it back, and I ended up doing it again. And with global domination, I'm like, yes, I did it. I am a conquistador. I am a conqueror of the world.
That's great. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it was so. I'm like, yes, man. Like I'm an adult. I have an adult mind. I'm an adult brained.
Yeah. So does it say David? Mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so even though I thought of this topic, I really don't have that good of one. I feel real bad.
Really?
Most of mine are just difficult games that I beat, and I feel proud of myself for doing that. So that comes to mind is not Elden Ring. I do play the Souls games. I wouldn't say I'm a super fan, but I have beat a few of them. But the one that comes to mind is, and I knew it was a great achievement because let me tell the story first, and I'll tell you the game. I went to to GameStop to trade in Neo 2. I had bought Neo 2. And at the time, GameStop had if you return the game within 2 days, you get $60 store credit. So almost like return policy. So I played it. I'm like, man, this game is super difficult and it sucks. So I'm going to trade in for the full $60 before I'm stuck with it. So I went to return it. You know, the guy at the counter and another customer were talking about, oh, yeah, we've heard that game is so hard. I'm like, yeah, I thought I could handle it. I beat Sekiro. And they're like, you beat Sekiro? And I was like, yeah, I beat Sekiro. Yeah, I beat Sekiro. Yeah, I did. I did beat Sekiro. And to me, that is my finest gaming achievement because that game is hard. Yeah. And there's a lot of different Souls games, and they're all very difficult, but they all are RPGs. So grinding doesn't do a lot in that game, but it does do a little. You can grind, and you can get levels, and you can get strength, and there's sometimes magic is cheesable in a lot of those, or certain weapons are cheesable. To make your guy just kind of overpowered. Sekiro is not an RPG from Software. It is a straight action game. The only way to beat that game is to have skill. And it was a game where I went from start to finish, a long game, mind you. I think maybe it took me 50, 60 hours. Mm-hmm. And I skilled it out. I did cheese 2 bosses, one very early on and one a little bit towards like the 75% range. But
I mean, that's from Software 101 right there. You got to cheese.
I had to. At the very beginning, it was getting frustrated, so I cheesed an early boss. But after that, I played most of it, about 99% of it legit. And man, towards the end, I felt like a god. Like that last boss, it did take me quite a few tries, But on the run that I defeated that guy, like, whoo, it looked like a perfect run. Like, it might have been a perfect run where everything was just, I was so in sync with the controls and the way the game wanted me to play that I felt like a Sekiro god. So that's definitely probably number one biggest achievement, which I know a lot of people have beaten that game, but for me, it's just like, I don't really beat hard games, but now I kind of do because they're somewhat enjoyable. So that's my number one. A couple other games, Cuphead, very difficult. Dark Souls 3, very difficult. Jeremy, I think you weren't giving yourself enough credit. Like, Sifu was a tough game, man. Like, I thought it might make it. Like, that was tough. There's no shortcuts in that game.
Right. I guess because I just enjoyed it so much that it was like felt like achievement. Really, I did think of another achievement which I think we all might share. Being younger, do you remember the kind of elation and achievement you felt when you finally caught Mewtwo? Do you remember that?
Ooh,
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a good one.
I remember catching Mewtwo, and I'm like, I'll run it with anyone in the world on Pokemon. They don't want it with me. They can bring all the smoke they want. I'm a knock them out. I got the Mewtwo.
Yeah, I did think of another one is beating The Last of Us on Grounded.
Oh yeah.
That was hard. I died like over 300 times.
That's a good one.
But I just stuck with it.
I kind of have a story similar to yours, David. Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow on the DS. I love that game. It's not too difficult at all, but I remember playing it, and I played it for a long time just because it's one of the best Castlevanias in my mind that I ever played. So I got towards the end of the game, couldn't figure out what to do. I put it down. I didn't play it for like a couple years. And then I was like, I got to go to the bathroom. And I took the DS with me, and I sat down, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be in here for the long haul. And I turned it on, and for some reason, I found the exact spot I had to go to, and I beat the final boss all within like 3-4 minutes. And I'm like, I was still going. Like, there was no like, I'm like, I was expecting a long, long haul here. And I'm like, I just beat this game that I had to put down for 3 years. And like, I was elated. I was like, this is awesome. I can't believe I beat this. I love this game. And finally, I was able to like enjoy this.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of cool achievements. I wish I had some better ones. Like, I wish I 100%ed like some really difficult games, but I've never really 100% any of my games. David, any of the like, I know you're big on online multiplayer. Do you have any like high rankings on any of those games that you? I know you had the 10th Prestige, but like
but
Apex
that's just gameplay, you know?
Right?
Yeah, anybody
Apex
can get that.
or
I guess,
Overwatch.
I mean, the highest I've made in both of those is Diamond, so it's nothing too. It's above average, but that's it. But I guess I would have to say between any of the games I play online is I hit rank 1 on Survivor and Killer on Dead by Daylight. It's not necessarily that hard, but it's also not everyone gets.
Requires some dedication and skill.
Like what's number 1 mean? Like number 1 in the world?
1 is the highest. Like
it's
rank.
like
So it goes rank
like
1
tier.
to rank 20. So if you just don't play and you get deranked every month, you can just go down to 20.
Okay.
So that's probably it for online gameplays.
And Jeremy, for you, I expected like quite a few strategy games. I know we got with Civ 2, but like, I was thinking maybe like Frostpunk. You beat that, right?
Yeah, I did beat that. I don't know. Maybe the other only like feeling of achievement I would get from a strategy game is reflecting on when I finally finally destroyed Gaul in Rome Total War, like as the House of Julii. You have to go against the Gaul because it's like emulating Julius Caesar's conquest into Gaul. And so, I'm like, I finally conquered the Gauls because they start off easy and then they get progressively harder as you travel further north into France and stuff like that. So finally being able to the Gaul faction is no more. And I was like, yes, man, like I finally did it. Because they send you on missions and then Carthage gets in the way and there's a bunch of other places. But to be able to stay focused and completely wipe the faction of Gaul out of the game, I was like, yeah, because the other benefit is in those games, when you defeat a faction, you can replay the game as that faction. So
that's cool.
Since I defeated Gaul, I can play Gaul. And like if you defeat, I don't know, like the Britons, you can be the Britons. The Carthaginians, you can be the Carthaginians. Like it goes on like that. So I'd say that's another achievement because it was just so hard, such a long campaign.
And man, getting achievements like this feels good. Let me tell you that.
Yeah,
it does. It does. So interesting enough, bringing up Rome Total War, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite games. I don't feel like that's a stretch for anyone to imagine that a freaking historical RTS about the Roman
What?
Empire happens to be. Yeah.
no way.
And there's
Mine.
specific moments I have of that game where I knew was going to be my favorite. The game has a birth system, like a dynasty system, right? So you can, have kids or whatever, and your people have kids and family tree. And the fact that one of my guys was born, and I'm like, I'm gonna make him a freaking legend, and I let him in the battle, and homie got clipped, and he was just, and he was just donezo, like he was just out of, he was just dead. Um, and it was so interesting to see the effect it later had on the family tree, and how like I was kind of able to build ideas and storylines from that, right? And it was in that moment, actually, a character of mine being killed that I had built up this whole mythos for, that I realized, there's consequence. This game is cool, and it officially became I'm fully in love with this game. So that led me to be curious with you guys, in regards to like some of your favorite games out there, right? And like a lot of my favorite moments when I reflect on are morbid, right? My favorite game of all time is Elder Scrolls Morrowind. When did I fall in love with it? When I went to someone's house, and I murdered them, and I was able to just murder them, and I walked outside the house, and it wasn't like an automatic game over or whatever it is. It was like it just happened. And I'm like, man, that's almost like real world. So I'm curious with you guys, because if I go on, I'm just going to name other games that let you murder people as being moments that I found out I love the game. So what in your favorite games, what were moments where you're like, oh, I love this game, or oh, this is one of my favorite games?
I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll go with the go figure here. So I was about 7 or 8, if I remember correctly, and I got a PlayStation for Christmas. And I got a WWF game and Resident Evil 2.
There you go.
Yeah. So I didn't do too well, obviously, being young, but just run around as a cop, shooting these zombies, trying to figure out everything. I just instantly loved it. And now I've, played pretty much all of them that have came out. But the most recent one I would have to say would be Apex. Because when I first got a computer, the first game I played was PUBG.
Okay.
And then my friend tore me away from that with Overwatch.
Okay.
Apex is like both of them mixed.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So as you can still see, 4 years later, I'm still playing the game. And I just love how it's different from PUBG, because you have like abilities, you have to have different teamwork and different team, whatever they're called, skills,
Right.
like this one's a healer, this one's a defender, stuff like that. So it really adds to the game besides just drop and kill people. And just between playing all those Call of Duties, it just fit right in, right where I like it.
Just scratched all the itches.
It just as all the itches are scratched with Apex.
Yeah.
This is a very difficult question now that I'm thinking about it, because my thought process is like, I'm trying to think of some of my favorite games of all time, and the thing that they do is they never drop the ball. Like I'll be playing a game, I'll be like, man, I really love this game, and then I'll get to a point, I'm like, I don't want to play this anymore. Or I'll play it, and I'll be like, this kind of went on too long, and I don't want to play it anymore. Like if I beat a game, it's because it kept me interested from start to finish. And a lot of times, if I beat a game, it's somewhere up there. Like not in the top 50 maybe, but I think of it extremely fondly because I gave that game all I had to give it. So I do have some examples though. God of War 2018. It's right up there at the top of the list. Not going to say where, but it is right up there. And I think for me that happened very early on. And Jeremy, I know you got to this point. David, you haven't played God of War, right? Yet?
I haven't, no.
Okay. So the Baldur fight. Very early on, after he does the stuff with his wife and chopping down the tree, you get a visitor, Balder, and there is a big boss fight, and the boss fight is epic. It is so visceral, it's so in your face, and it kind of just shows the violence that is in this game. Blood all over Kratos, and Balder can't feel pain, so you're going at it as hard as you can, and it's a really epic way to start the game, and that kind of just set my expectations for, man, this is going to be a thrill of a game throughout. And it, for the most part, it was a fantastic opening to a game that I just thought was amazing. David, you said Resident Evil. Oh, go ahead. I was going
to say that was the end cap for me going and thinking about that game. It was actually the whole thing with the wife that made me.
That was great too.
The beginning that made me fall in love.
Yeah,
because there was such a sadness and a weight there, and it was for the game to allow it to hang that way and drag for that long. And I don't want to use drag, but it did last for a while. For a game that's a quote unquote action adventure game, to let something as real and as heavy like that hang for the narrative effect and building the characters, I thought was like incredible. And that's when I was like, oh, I'm into this game. Before, and then you get the boulder fight.
Yeah,
like, oh,
and this is awesome. That's all together to me as well. Like that started off, and they really did take their time with it, and they treated it with a ton of respect. It wasn't broken up by like anything that kind of like
no QTEs or anything.
A joke from Atreus or anything like that. It was very somber, and it was meant to be somber. Now I'll talk about that game a little more, and there's a part, Jeremy. I don't want to spoil it for you. Midway through the game, and David, we're going to talk about music in a little bit, but Kratos makes a choice, and the music swells to this epic, just the Viking kind of theme that they had throughout, and he's revisiting like his past kind of, and that part is just like gives you chills. It sets the tone for the rest of the game, and that's the part where it's like, all right, the brakes are gone. We're going full steam ahead the rest of this game, and it is brilliant and it's amazing. So, but David, you mentioned Resident Evil 2, and I love Resident Evil 2 Remake. It's one of my favorite games. There's a part in there where I was so blown away, and it was very scary, but I was just like, this is so epic. And you played Resident Evil 2 Remake, obviously. So there's a part I was playing as Leon where you're in the prison. Well, you're always in the prison, but you're by the cells, right? And there's a journalist, I think, in one of the cells. Back me up here. I'm looking for backup.
I think they're journalists. It's been a while, but yeah,
there's a dude in a cell, right? And you want to get him out, so you got to cut the power. And in the other cells are zombies. So you go through and you're cutting off the power. You cut off the power, you get back to him, and I believe Mr. X kills him before anything can happen with him, anyways. So you turned off the power. The zombies are now loose in the hallway, and it's already a frightening situation. They're chasing after you. And as you get to a hallway where you think you are scot-free, Mr. X bursts through the wall. So you have Mr. X, which is just so imposing, and behind you have about 20 zombies. And that like blew my mind. I was like, oh my God. Because I thought I was free. Mr. X isn't going to get me here. And it was just such a great moment where I was like, this is epic. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, it was literally him in front of me and 20 zombies behind me. There's no escape. And it was just amazing. It felt so cool to be in that moment. Jeremy, one that I know you're going to like a lot, Ghost of Tsushima. That whole game is just brilliant from start to finish. Storytelling, graphics, music and all that. But I think my favorite part of that game was a side mission where you're trying to get like a legendary technique or weapon or something. But the first one, you get off like a coast where there's this guy fighting on this rock. And then there's like thunder going down the whole time. And man, it was just one of the most beautiful scenes. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
So it's a one-on-one, very intense battle. When you do these one-on-one battles, they get very like in your face. So it's a lot more personal. Right. And then you have this lightning going down the whole way, and he's trying to do, I think, like the thunder strike technique. And he's doing it too, and you're trying to stop it. And then when you finally do kill him, you get that technique. But to me, man, that's something that's going to stick in my mind. Like, that is what I think about when I think it Ghost of Tsushima. As good as it is and everything else in it, that's like the first thought where I'm like, when people play it, I'm like, you got to play this side mission because it's just such a really cool moment.
Yeah, there's some really cool side missions. There's one I remember where I think you're trying to help this this woman who says her father has been dragged off by like an evil like water monster or something, and they're like there's like blood traces and all that stuff, and you're trying to figure out where this monster's coming from. And at one point you're like, well, this monsters aren't real, but at another point it seems like it's a monster. It ends up being bandits or something like that, but just kind of like how it built the tension to the end. I thought, well, this is really good for us. Just a super random side mission. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, love Ghost. But even like, so I'll think of, just to give you guys one more, and again, I'm sorry, just going along with the theme of, I guess, games that I find these moments of, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Crusader Kings 3. When
Finally, back on the show.
When they gave me the option to assassinate that baby.
I remember you talking about that.
And here's the, and casted, the game felt to cast no morality down on me, like why would you, this is terrible. Just, here's an option. This is a political whatever game. This baby is born into politics. You want to whack this baby? Like the fact that it gave me that option, I was like, I love you. So many games would not let me kill a baby for power, but
it's like
you will.
That's a good point you bring up too, because I haven't played it, but you made it sound like there was no morality meter. Like you kill a baby, you're bad. It's like, it's obviously bad. We know killing babies is bad. It might have repercussions in the future,
right?
But us as the game, we're not going to look down on you. That's a choice you got to make, and you will deal with it.
Right.
We're not going to say, hey, you're bad because you made this choice.
If I'm a greedy warlord and this baby is standing in the way between me and getting territory and possibly building my kingdom and getting whatever, this baby's got no shot. So the fact that it just gives me that option and just says, here it is, you know? Well, they didn't have guns back then. Well, maybe arrows. Got them say arrows, maybe.
That'll work.
Another example I want to give, Jeremy, you mentioned Morrowind, which I never played Morrowind on the original Xbox. Mm-hmm. I never bought it. I had played it, but not to the extent that would have made it memorable for me. But Oblivion, I did buy for the Xbox 360, and that's a fantastic game. And the thing I remember most, and the one that cements it in my heart, is like one of my favorites, is the Thieves Guild. That was my favorite guild in the game. I know a lot of people like the Dark Brotherhood guild, but like the Thieves Guild with the Gray Fox, is that his name as the leader?
Maybe.
I think it's the Gray Fox.
Yeah, I think
and then
so. Yeah.
The final mission of the Thieves Guild, where you're going into like the Mage's Library and you're using all these items that you had taken, where you get these boots that allow you not to take any damage, and you actually get the Gray Fox mask, and you're the leader of the Thieves Guild after. Like that felt like crazy. Like, what? I got this mask that makes me invisible to anyone. That's, I forget exactly it was pretty much invisibility.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, this whole storyline was epic, and it was a side piece of content in this game. Yes. You know, I could have never even seen it. And there's a ton of examples in that, like the arena. That was a lot of fun. Had a great payoff at the end. The Dark Brotherhood, amazing payoff. And Oblivion does that with all these different side quests that are just, and the game itself being open world and the secrets you find. I remember getting the Umbra sword. Did you ever get that, Jeremy? It's like strongest.
Yeah.
You had to go to like a cave, and it makes the user insane. So the person there was like the strongest in the game. And how did I kill him? I ran away from that person into the main city, and she decimated about 100 guards before they killed her. And then I walked over and I took the stuff.
There you go.
Those are the kind of moments in games that make you love them. And though I can't remember a lot about the main quest, I remember those moments, and I think back fondly, like this was one of the greatest experiences I ever had in a video game ever. And so I gotta give it to him.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, you said Thieves Guild. For me, is probably the Dark Brotherhood.
Dark Brotherhood, for sure.
I can't remember. I think it actually was Skyrim, the one with the house, where you have to go in the house and like secretly kill everyone that's there.
That was a cool mission. That was a cool mission.
Sublime. One of the best quests in the whole game. I'm like,
and then you get like a big cave as like your hideout, right? And that's like almost like that counts as like a house for you. You can store your stuff and you can travel. So great. It's great.
I thought of another one. It was the Last of Us. Yes, I love that game. I went over to a friend's house with my best friend, and they were already playing it a little bit, so I didn't even see the beginning. like hour and a half of the game. But I was there for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, and I was totally invested. I don't remember what part it was, but eventually she accidentally saved over her game, so we had to restart it.
Ooh.
And just seeing that beginning, I was hooked. I was like, I need a PlayStation. I need to buy this game. I need to play this for my own. That's when I fell in love with that game.
The beginning is great.
Such a good story.
Oh, I'll also give it up for winter. If you know, like the winter season of that game is just like the thing that happens right before winter, and then dealing throughout the entirety of winter is just like, it's masterful, man. It's memorable.
And what also is really good about that game is the music of it.
Transitions.
And like, I would sit on the starting page for a good minute and a half just listening to the music because it was just so soothing. Just a nice, I don't even know what to call it.
Kind of acoustic guitar, right?
Yeah, it was acoustic guitar, but it wasn't just soothing, but it was also like
it set a tone. It set a tone.
And
it was
evocative, right? Like emotional.
Evocative. That yes, emotional.
It gets the people going.
Yes. So I just love that. So my question is music a big thing to you guys when it comes to video games?
I'll take this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a big music guy. Mostly no. The only time it really affects, I'd say, is strategy games, because you're doing so much over a long course of time. So like that's when it comes like Civ can't have bad music. I'm playing a game for 400 turns.
Right.
That one game may last 20, 30, 40 hours by itself. And I plan on playing multiple games, right? So in strategy games where you're doing like a lot of micromanaging and different things like that, and your mind can kind of wander, having great music kind of holds you. For me, that's really, yeah. But like for a lot of games, I don't notice it. I do notice when it's exceptional though. So yeah, I do notice the music in The Last of Us because it's fantastic and it elevates the mood and the feeling and all that different stuff, right? We had remarked before, Cory, you had mentioned the music in Valheim, like how it so fits the game and elevates the experience.
It helps you continue to do what you need to do, which is grind, you know?
Yeah. In those cases, yes, I do notice it. But if you're asking me, did I notice the music in Shadow Warrior, or if I noticed the music in Call of Duty, or if I noticed the music in Uncharted, no, not really. That doesn't really grip me. And I would say like a lot of my favorite games, though they may have great music, that wasn't like one of the things that drove it to be one of my favorite games. Like I wouldn't say Omno is one of my favorite games, but Omno and I love the music in Omno. So
yeah, if you remember, I bought the soundtrack.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah, I would say it mostly doesn't, and it's not something that drives my thinking of playing games, but it's definitely something that, if it's good enough, I do notice, I would say.
Does Civ have good music?
Oh, fantastic music.
I'm gonna have to look it up. I've never heard Civ is like it never gets brought up.
Yeah, it's world music. It's cultural. It's so beautiful. A lot of choruses and different things like that. It's beautiful.
Okay. David, to answer your question, if I was like a reviewer, music if it has horrible music, that would not change my opinion of the game at all. If it has amazing music, it does not change my opinion of the game at all. So it really does have no effect on me. I 100% prefer great music. I do remember great music from games, and I really appreciate it. But at no point am I like, man, this game went from to wow. So music on my list of importance is probably the very bottom of things I'm looking for in a game. You know, it is what it is. I'm looking for gameplay. I'm looking for a story if a game's focused on that. And yeah, music's down there, probably right by graphics. I don't care about graphics either, but I do love music, and I think it is important to games. Just it doesn't change my opinion on them. I don't know.
That's fair. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat with you guys. It necessarily doesn't matter too much. Like in Overwatch, I have all the music turned off. I'm not a fan of pretty much any of it. Don't need it. Apex, you get to choose and pick what music you get put into the game with and what sits on the menu. I like some of the songs, those ones I selected, but it's still, again, like a low volume. The Last of Us, loved it, as I said. Listened to it all day. And like Twisted Metal games, they had some amazing music, especially for 2 and 4. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily make the game better or worse. It's just if the music doesn't fit the mood, you can kind of notice it. Like if you're in the middle of a battle and you're fighting and you're listening to like soothing music, it doesn't necessarily fit too well.
I'll say this. I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the greatest games of all time also have some of the greatest music in gaming.
That is true.
I don't think it's a direct correlation, but obviously if you're putting effort into stuff, you're also putting effort into the music, and it shows and people appreciate it. Obviously, rhythm games, the music's very important.
I was about to say that. I was
That's obvious.
Rhythm games needs to have a nice selection of music if it is a general music game. Like BeatStar has a lot of just, a lot of popular music, a little bit of unpopular music, but it keeps a nice attraction for many people.
Yeah, for sure.
DDR, it's a lot of dancey Asian music, and that fits the narrative for DDR.
Right. Jeremy, I'll see if you agree with me on this one because you actually have played this game. A game I do think where the music is kind of important and maybe elevates it a little bit is Hotline Miami, which is an indie game.
Yeah.
But, like you start playing Hotline Miami, it is a tough as nails game. It is so difficult, and you die so many times, and you die and you respawn, and you die and you respawn, and you die and you respawn until you get like almost this perfect puzzle that you figured out to clear this room. And the music in there is, what is that, like synth or something like that?
Like 80s synth, because it's going for that kind of like 80s neon.
It's so good.
Look. Yeah.
It's so good. And it keeps you going, because if that game had lackluster music or like no music, I don't know if I could keep redoing these runs 20, 30, 40 times in a row until I figure out a room. Like it energizes you. Like I'm listening to this music and I'm like, okay, I died. Okay, I died. And it's really good. And that's one game where like the music is like propelled me kind of to move forward.
I would say also this on that same kind of theme and line too, but to a lesser extent, Party Hard, because you were at a dance party the whole time, so the music had to like hold your interest.
I did not like that game as much, but music in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, music's fantastic, man. What's some of your favorite music in games? Like if I could steer it just a little bit.
I really like the safe room music in the Resident Evils.
Perfect.
Mostly number 2. I think they're all a little different. Number 2 is really good. Last of Us, obviously, Omno was really good. And another one that Jeremy turned me on to, I think it was Artful Escape.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So that's not necessarily a rhythm game, but it is a story about
music. It's like rhythm.
It's like a rhythm
adjacent.
Yeah.
I would say,
that one I feel is really important for music, and it really was good music.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, in my head.
That was put out by like Annapurna or something, right? Which is like almost kind of like an A24, but not quite.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're the A24 video games for sure.
Yeah. Music. I mean, the ones I'm going to list are some iconic ones.
Like Halo. Halo's making it. No.
Well, Halo is up there. I would say if you're going to give me top 3, I'll give you Skyrim. I mean, David, like you said, on the menu screen for Last of Us, menu screen for Skyrim, listening to the Dragonborn's anthem or whatever it's called.
Those vocals, man.
Oh my God, so that's one of them right there. The other one, let's see, there's so many of them. The other one I'm gonna go with is going to be Destiny 2, surprisingly enough.
Wow.
Very good, exceptional music. This other third one might be unexpected, but it's a bop. You're gonna hear it, and it's a bop. Give me the whole soundtrack to Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Oh
of
my
course.
God.
It's a bop.
Yes.
Of course.
It's a bop.
Yeah.
The whole
So
thing's just banging.
good.
It's so good. So good.
For sure. Yeah, 100%.
Nothing on it was like skip.
No.
So I like the classic tunes. Probably my favorite is Final Fantasy. They have such good composers. Obviously, these people that do video games are almost like the modern day like Mozarts and stuff, because they do such beautiful pieces of work that does kind of get you. They can fit you into any emotion they want with just their music. So Final Fantasy is amazing. I love Sonic music.
I was gonna ask about
pretty much
that. Like,
all of it. Pretty much all of it.
Sonic would be as good and as much put out if Green Hill Zone had different crappy music.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe not. I love the Sonic 2 soundtrack. I think every single song on there. Casino Nights. Casino Nights has been my ringtone for I think 10 years at this point. I love it. I could listen to it nonstop. Every song in there, and even like the newer Sonic ones. So like Sonic Adventure 2, which I guess isn't new now, but like with the vocals, they're so good. I mean, Pumpkin Hill. Like, does anyone remember Pumpkin Hill?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where they rap.
They rap. But
it's great. It's a terrible rap, but it's so good. It's so good. And that first one, City Escape, so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then Castlevania has just all-time classic music. There's a lot of those old franchises that have, Mario, Zelda, Castlevania, Mega Man.
Right. They're all
fantastic.
Pokemon.
Yeah. I like Pokemon. I don't love Pokemon music, but I like them. Some of them are like the Pallet Town theme is iconic.
I loved Sabrina's town, the ghost town.
Yeah, Lavender Town.
Lavender.
Is that it? Lavender
Yeah.
I think it was Lavender Town.
Town.
It was kind of creepy but soothing all at the same time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's classic. Yeah. I will be, instead of our regular intro music, I will be ending this episode with the music of the Wii Sports theme, because there is no song more fire in the history of gaming, I believe, than the Wii Sports theme. It's
the
Wii in general, because the Wii had what was it, the Wii Store?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's classic music. Like people play that on TikTok as some of the sounds,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nintendo, man, they make, a lot of companies do it. They make great music, and it is important. It is. It just doesn't affect the enjoyment for me, but love music.
It's not a make or break.
No,
but it definitely helps.
It does help. Is there any examples of really poor music?
I mean, there are a good bit. If I give a second to thought, did you have something off the top?
I did not. I wish I did. I don't know why I've asked it, because I'm trying to think. I definitely think there has been examples where I'm like, I got to turn this down. I can't listen to this. And I think it does.
I did say Overwatch.
You did say Overwatch.
I turned it all off.
I thought Overwatch was pretty good. I don't know. It's got like the superhero, heroic, like we're very important, but it's not great, but not horrible in my mind.
I will say, even though it's one of my favorite games of all time, classics, I will say I wasn't the biggest fan of the music for like the Command and Conquer, Tiberian Suns, and those type of strategy games. Those were weird. Now, Red Alert 2, those had some bops in it, but like some of those Westwood Studio strategy games didn't have the best music. You might want to try on it. Trying to go a little bit. They were kind of I guess like industrial sounding, but I mean like 90s industrial, so just awful.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I did think of an example that I don't love. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Remake, the game I'm playing. I think at the time it came out, it was a little bit on the last part of like the very edgy, like we make edgy sort of stuff. So they do like really hard metal, which is very weird, because it is a fantasy game. I know it has an industrial feel to it, but it's just like, just real hard metal at some parts. And it's like, feels kind of out of place, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
And not everyone's a fan of metal.
I like some. Very little. Sorry.
Hit and miss.
Fine.
Hit and miss.
That's half of the shows I go to is metal, but it's not for everybody.
Do you like the opening of Attack on Titan season 4, part 2?
I have no idea. I've never seen it.
Rumbling.
What's an attack on a Titan?
Oh, come on, man. You know Attack on Titan. No, you do not?
I have no idea what an attack on a Titan is.
Really? Are you serious?
I am being.
I feel like you're trying to get me to like nerd out a little bit, but and then make fun of me behind my back.
Is it a cartoon?
It's an anime. Come on, David.
Oh.
It's a manga that became an anime.
Yes, and it's also a very fantastic game. Attack on Titan. It was a really good game on the Xbox One and the PS4. Really, really fun gameplay on that one. That was a Musu game.
Yeah.
Did you not know of that release, Jeremy? I thought you would have been on all the.
No, because I don't really do Attack on Titan. That's
okay. Well, Attack on Titan, the very base of it is there's this group of humanity that's behind these 3 huge concrete walls. Huge, I don't know, 100 meters up, 200 meters up. I don't know what the size is, but they're behind these walls. And they're behind these walls because out in the world, there are naked humanoid creatures that are 10 to 15 feet tall. And their purpose is to eat these other people. Mm-hmm. So what happens is at the very first episode, a Titan who is above the wall, the size of the wall, a little bit bigger, puts a hole into one of the walls, and it lets in all these, 10 to 15 to 20 foot Titans. And then after that is just probably the premier fiction ever made.
Really? Premier fiction?
Peak. It's peak. All right, it's peak. It's peak. You watch it, you will change your life. It's so good. It's so good. It's got so many twists and turns and things you never saw coming, and great action and great animation and great music. It's some of the best stuff. All right. And relating this to games, they do have a Musu game where you're attacking a bunch of Titans, and the way they attack these Titans is they got this steampunk kind of gear that goes on their hip, and it shoots out 2 wires almost like Spider-Man that attach to buildings, and it propels them forward with this steam. So they take 2 swords, and you can cut the back of the neck, and that's how you kill a Titan. You cut where the nape is on the back of the neck, and that kills them. So that's the Musu game where you're going around flying on this thing. It has really fun movement, and you're killing these Titans.
Premier fictional. So
it really is
better than something like a Chicago Fire or a Glee.
Chicago Fire? Come on, that's
better than a Chicago Fire or a Glee? I mean, are you serious?
David, do you have your computer by you right now? Obviously you do. I want you to go to IMDb and look up the highest rated television episodes of all time. Can you do that for me just really, really quick?
I don't know if I can do it quick.
Just type in highest rated television episodes of all time, IMDb.
Highest rated television.
You know what you're going to see? You know what you're going to see there, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm going to see a bunch of.
You're going to see Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
You're going to see Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And you're going to see something else.
I'm going to probably see The Sopranos, The Wire, and I'm probably going to see 1 or 2 episodes of Glee. Probably the one that also had what's his name?
Is it? You said TV shows, right?
Yes.
Planet
highest
Earth
rated.
2, Breaking Bad, Planet Earth, Band of Brothers, Chernobyl, The Wire,
individual episodes.
Oh.
Specific episodes.
I think. Are you trying to drive to the idea that Attack on Titan will have the highest rated individual episodes?
I don't think it has the highest rated one.
So, yeah, it's number 3, Attack on Titan, episode Midnight Sun.
Okay.
It's number 3.
Is there another one on there in the top 10?
Number 10.
Number 10. Which one's that?
Episode Assault.
Okay. So it's got 2 out of the greatest 10 television episodes ever made. And as you go down the list, it will be peppered in there because...
Yeah, it's also 12 and 13.
12 and 13. 4 out of the top 13 episodes of television ever. We're looking at our Breaking Bads, our Sopranos, our Wires, our Game of Thrones, our Chicago Fires, our Glees. It's got 4 out of the top 13.
Yeah, it's also
ever
26.
26.
24, 23.
like I understand anime is not for everybody, but if they had the production to be able to make this into a live television, it would honestly be, some of the best stuff ever made. It's got a storyline that's mapped out from beginning to end, and it fits, and every single detail fits into the story and makes sense.
Okay.
Attack on Titan.
I take your word for it. I mean, saying that it's good or better than a Chicago Fire, very surprising.
Chicago. How many Chicago Fire episodes are up there, David?
I didn't see any, but that's very dramatic. I used to watch that.
Chicago Fire?
Yeah, because my son's mom watches it, so I used to watch it.
Yeah. I think I've caught maybe one episode of it.
It's better than Narcos. I'll say that.
Okay. All righty. Well, I guess that ends our discussion on games.
I guess so.
Yeah, that ended about 15 minutes ago.
Which means it's time for one thing.
It's game time.
I forgot we play a game. Oh, shoot. Does anyone have one prepared?
I do have a game prepared. I will be bartending this iteration.
Oh, yeah.
Of Legally Guessing.
I like that.
I've got a game in mind. If you guys don't know, this is how it works. Legally Guessing. Cory and David, they have
got my notepad.
21 guesses, correct?
20 guesses. 20 questions and a guess.
20 questions and one guess. In order to figure out what mystery game is in my mind. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Always.
All right, let's go.
I don't take L's. All right, Jeremy. Could this potentially be on yours, mine, or David's top 50 games of all time?
Absolutely not.
Wow. Okay.
What did that do?
It did. Really, David?
I don't. That doesn't help me. I don't. I mean, I guess it helps a little bit. But
it would help if it was a yes. We would have a good idea of like maybe it's a strategy game, maybe it's
okay. I guess if it was a yes, it would have helped a lot.
All right, yeah, that's how all these questions go. You ask the next question. Go ahead.
Is this game older than 2020?
Yes.
Oh, jeez. Do you play as a human in this game?
Oh, yes. Well, yes.
What a weird thing not to know right offhand.
So it's probably just a game he hasn't played before.
I have played it before.
You have played it before. Okay.
I'm thinking maybe more like you're in a ship or something. You're in a spaceship, or I don't know. I feel like it's something where the main character isn't like maybe like you're not just controlling a person. Like maybe you're controlling something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like black and white. Like, is God human? That's tough. Is he one of us? I don't know.
Right.
David, your question.
Can you play this on PlayStation?
No.
Was that like all of PlayStation? Is that what you meant, David?
Yeah, just in general. Any PlayStation.
No.
He said no.
Okay. Okay. Is this a game for Xbox? Any of the Xboxes?
Yes.
Okay. Xbox game. All right. This is good. Before 2020, right? That's what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. It's on an Xbox console, but which one? All right. We're just going to narrow that down. Is that okay, David?
Yeah. I'll start. Is it?
How many consoles? There's only been 4 consoles, so.
Was it released originally on the Xbox 360?
Yes.
Whew. All right. He doesn't know if he play as a human, but that was kind of iffy. Is this? Oh man, I don't know. Where do we want to go with this, David?
Do we this is probably gonna be a stupid question to Cory. Do we know if Halo are those humans like Master Chief?
Yeah, Spartans are humans.
Okay, so that would have been, he would have known that. So that's not it.
Yeah, for sure. You want to try to figure out the genre a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, is this an RPG, fighting, or racing game?
No.
Okay.
Is fighting like Street Fighter fighting, or just like any kind of fighting? Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of it as like a fighting game.
And what was the three you said?
RPG, racing, or fighting.
Racing, fighting, RPG. Is this a FPS or TPS?
That feels like a no too.
I would say, give me a moment to clarify here. Give me a moment to clarify.
Is this a second-person game? Those are real popular.
It is
not. That's not a question. Get out of here. Seems like Jeremy doesn't know this game very well, David.
I'm sorry, FPS, no.
Or third person.
Yeah, I asked for either one.
Well, I'm allowed only yes or no questions.
Yeah.
Yes. Is this a first person or third person game?
FPS?
Oh, wait. Okay, so yes.
It's definitely a third person.
So it's a third.
Okay. Does this game focus on gun combat?
Define further.
Is the main point of action by you using some sort of gun?
Yes.
Okay. I really do think this has to do with like a ship or something, like a space combat game, maybe, because that question too was kind of iffy. Like gun, obviously, you probably thought I meant like a pistol, but also a gun on a ship, you know. So third person, that's also pretty popular for ship games. Do you command a vehicle in this game?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What vehicle games are there, David? Because that seems tough. This was an Xbox 360 game?
Originally.
Is this game based on an IP?
No.
Okay. Thought maybe like a Star Wars thing or like a Halo offshoot.
Right. That helps a bit.
A little bit.
Is the game mostly outside of Earth's atmosphere?
Good question.
No.
Okay, so it's not a space game of any type. That's a really good question because that eliminates like anything that's like.
Right.
That means it's in Earth's atmosphere.
Because they could, if I said it was out in space, he could have said no because it could have been on another planet.
Oh, just unplugged my cord. It went dark here. Okay, so it's on Earth. You use vehicles. You're a human, but iffy. You use shoot guns.
Did you say you use shoot guns?
Yeah, you use shoot guns. Pew 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 pew. All right, we gotta figure out. Does the game have a high priority on multiplayer?
It does not.
Yeah, why would it? Jeremy's never played a multiplayer game in his life.
Right.
But he's played them. He just hasn't played that part of them.
Oh, yeah, that's true. No multiplayer. Not a high priority, at least. Really? I did just ask if you command a vehicle, so it could be a game where like you're mostly not in a vehicle, but you are some parts. But I really feel like
it could be a part of the game.
I really feel like
is the game post-apocalyptic?
It's It is not.
Okay, so no world is destroyed.
Does the game take place in the past?
Does it take place in the past? It does not.
So at this point, I would say it's a modern setting.
Right, at least in its time.
Right. Xbox 360, man. Modern setting game where you're a human and use guns. No multiplayer of importance. Man, this one's tricky, man.
Okay, well, I'm thinking, what about games like Hitman?
Not really vehicle driven though, at all.
At all, okay.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't played enough Hitman to know.
Me either. I just know of it.
I don't think you ever drive a car, or maybe.
Now, just to clarify one of the answer/questions.
He would have definitely known it was a human, though.
Just to clarify, right? The multiplayer one, like I said, you asked
it wasn't an important part, right?
Right.
It could
have
multiplayer.
Yeah.
Okay. So it does have it. Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck here, David.
Yeah, me
too. How many more guesses we got here?
You're supposed to keep track. We're at 14. We're at 14. So we have 6 guesses and a game.
Yeah.
All right, 6 guesses and a game. We found out it was a third-person shooter. You use guns and you have a vehicle. Is the vehicle used on anything other than solid ground?
No.
Okay, so it's definitely not air or water. So we have a game that takes place on the ground. Is there any like racing? Is there like combat?
I was just say, is there any games like
combat games?
Twisted Metal that's on 360?
Cell damage. You want to pick cell damage? There ain't no way. There's no chance he picked that.
I mean, if
would he have? No, there's no way.
I don't know.
There's no way he didn't pick that game. He didn't pick cell damage. There's no chance.
Do you think he's ever played that though?
Yeah, for sure. I don't even know if it came out on the 360. I think it did, but it also might have been an original Xbox game. But there ain't no way it's that game. There ain't no way, unless it is.
I mean, I picked Animaniacs one time, so it could be anything.
That was dirty. Does this game have a modern graphic style for its time?
Yes.
Okay, so definitely not cell damage.
So it had like the best graphics of the time. Is what you?
Yeah, like realistic. You know, like
okay.
It wasn't taking liberties with anything going on. The vehicle tanks, maybe it's tanks. Is there any tank games? Mechas?
Is the game focused on war?
Yes.
Oh, good question, David. Focused on war.
Isn't there a game like Tanks of War or something like that?
I don't think that's on 360 though. I think that came out after. Do you control more than one person in this game?
Expand on that further.
At a time. Are you in charge of multiple people at a time?
Multiple people? No.
Multiple entities? No. Expand on that further. So is there a rotating cast of characters maybe? Let's see, we gotta take like these little subtle hints as we get them.
Right.
So it's like you switch characters, and that's why you had trouble figuring out if you played as a human, because maybe there was something else with it. Oh man, focused on war. I think that's a really good question though. Focused on war.
Right.
Man, did Microsoft themselves make this game?
No.
So I was trying to cheat there a little bit. If we get Microsoft, makes it a lot easier.
Did it help that it was known?
Wait, what?
What?
Does it help that it's not Microsoft a lot?
Not really. I was just trying to. And when I said lad, I meant like anyone
So-
they.
Does that mean it's not exclusive to Xbox?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. It could have been. It could have been just a third-party company made a game exclusive for Xbox.
Okay.
Or Xbox 360. That kind of happened quite a bit. You know, a lot of games, but it didn't come out on any PlayStation console. Is this game part of a series?
Yes.
Yeah, this is some sort of offshoot. This is an offshoot game.
He says
You know,
yes.
This
though.
is
I'll give you guys a hint. Since I'm fairly confident you won't be able to guess this, I will give
Okay.
you guys a hint. The game was published by Sega.
a Sega war game. It's published by
Really?
Sega. So they almost always put all their stuff on Nintendo too, don't they?
well on the Xbox 360 days. Like something like Bayonetta came first to Xbox 3. No, did it come first? Oh boy, David, I think we're screwed.
I think so.
Published by Sega. Who does Sega own? They own Atlas, which is an RPG, but those games never come to Xbox. They own the Yakuza games, which didn't come to Xbox till recently. I'm pretty sure they published Shenmue. How do we pronounce that?
Shenmue. Yes, they do.
Shenmue. That came to Xbox, but I think that was original Xbox. I'm just trying to think of any games that kind of fit that mold. Man, published by Sega. Wow, that's really tough.
What's that game where you are a dog? Do you change characters on that one? Is that about
You're
war?
a dog.
Yeah, it's like Oshamu or something, or Rishimishu, or it's some
Amnesia?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Amusha.
No.
Maybe.
No, you're talking about the one that's cell shaded. Almost. The one that it's no.
I'll give you guys another hint.
Really?
I'll give you guys two. The game was developed by From Software.
Oh, I mean, I guess my only oh god, I would have never got this if I'm even right. David, is it okay if I take a guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't even know which one this is because it's a sequel. No, he said it was.
Well, listen, he said it's part of a series in a unsure tone.
What game is this? I'm just gonna take a guess. We're on our guess anyways, right? Made by From Software. Before the Souls games, they made Armored Core, but it would have been like Armored Core 3. Is that our game?
Is that your final guess, Armored Core?
I mean, it's definitely not. Yeah, I'll guess Armored Core.
That is incorrect.
I'm sorry, David. I took
That's
it out.
okay. That is better than we ever would have.
But very close. The correct game is Chrome Hounds.
Chrome Hounds.
Rome House.
It is a mech game developed and published
that game
in 2006 by From Software and published by Sega for the 360, and only for the 360.
Wow.
that was a good one.
I'm a little speechless. I honestly would have never got it. Like, I honestly think I had a better chance of getting Animaniacs than Chrome Hounds.
Yeah.
Until you had just mentioned it, I didn't remember it existed, and now I still barely remember it existed. But I do recall. Was it good, Jeremy?
I had no
at
idea.
all.
It from what I recall, it was okay. Now, what's funny enough is even though I'm the one that thought of that game, and I got it and I had it here, and I'm like, okay, I'll just want to stick with it. The original game that I wanted to get was a different one. So I did not intend to do Chrome Hounds, but that's what I ended up doing because that's what I landed on. So
Next time I do Legally Guessin, you guys aren't going to get Breath of the Wild again. All right, you're getting.
Hey, that's fine. But you were a rollback into the groove of things, so it was understandable. But now you
Yeah,
can
that's
go.
true. No, you
under
guys
the
are getting.
paint into a
Right.
random game.
Small Soldiers on PC from 1997, the RTS.
Okay, that
was a great game back in the day too. I really remember enjoying that one.
I'm trying to think. I'm looking it up now. The game. Yeah, the game that I was originally thinking of and wanted to do was Steel Battalion. Do you guys remember that game?
I might have got that one.
I've heard of.
I might have got
I have
that
no idea anything about it.
Because when I was saying out loud mecha games, that's the one that popped in my head, Steel Battalion, because that had a $250 controller setup.
It did. I wish
I would have bought it. What?
Yeah. It was a super crazy. It used the Duke,
like a
right?
Cockpit.
Yeah. But it had all
cockpit.
Yeah, it gave you all that. Yeah. A bunch of stuff with it. Yeah, it was like super crazy.
You had a little cockpit controller?
Yeah, it was like a controller that was like 2 feet or 3 feet wide, and it had like every kind of button you would imagine that like a mech would have.
That is amazing.
And if I obviously I didn't have money back then, but if I was in my life now, I would 100% buy that. That'd be such a cool thing.
Yes,
to actually own and play. And that had a little bit of that's Steel Battalion. I'm like, yeah, and online, because Steel Battalion was kind of an online game, right?
Yeah, I mean, Chrome House was a little bit too, but not. It wasn't like
right.
Multiplayer was like more. It was kind of like equal in part. If you do want the Steel Battalion game unopened with the controller setup, you can still get it on eBay. It's only $1,400.
Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad.
And that was developed by developed or published by Capcom.
Okay.
Only on Xbox.
Yeah.
Well, that is the end of Legally Guessing. The guys give a valiant effort in trying to guess this game. I will admit that it was wasn't the easiest one to
narrow
pull
it down pretty well. Just
you guys did a really good job. I figured when Cory, when you started saying it's got to be maybe some kind of mech, I was like, oh, they might get it now because it's close.
Yeah,
and Armored Core. Unfortunately, From Software has 2 mech IPs in their mix. So
apparently, who would have known?
But
not me.
Great job legally guessing. We've reached the end of the level, which means it is time for final thoughts, where we each make a final thought or opinion that can be related or unrelated to the podcast. So, who would like to give their final thoughts first?
I'll go because my phone might die.
Okay.
I took the baby today, and I kind of had the day to myself, and it was a really nice day, but I missed her, and I can't wait to be done with the podcast so I can go say hi to her because I haven't seen her since way earlier today.
That's
very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
It's nice to see people actually care about their significant others,
There you go.
Like, after this, I'm stuck with the wife. You're
the old ball and chain, huh?
Yeah.
I'll go. So this past Sunday was my birthday, and my partner's friend was in this schooling thing. It's classes for a burlesque show and stuff. So like their graduation was to put on a burlesque show. Yeah. So we went to that, and it was actually really good. Like, yeah, they undressed and whatever, but like they all had like a performing like act, some dancing and stuff like that. You could just tell they put a lot of time and work into what they were ready to show for us. I thought that was really cool.
David, you always do very interesting things. I'm always glad to hear them.
You're welcome.
My final thought is that I started watching The Last of Us.
The Attack on Titan show?
What episode are you on?
I am now on I will be going into episode 2.
Okay. Nice. How do you like it so far?
I think that the intro part they did, emulating the intro from the game, was exceptional. I love that they gave a little bit more time to build up the daughter and give her more of a backstory. I was a little bit leery of Pedro Pascal as Joel, but man, can that guy freaking act. Man,
yeah, he is amazing. Like, yeah. I saw him in like Game of Thrones when it came out, whatever season he's in, and coming to this, amazing. I finished it and I watched it every Sunday it came out, except for that one Friday it came out, and I loved it.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to jumping back into that and finishing it. But yeah, finally was able to do it. The episode lengths are a little bit weird because it's like hour 20, 45 minutes, hour 20, 50 minutes. But I think it'll average out to about an hour, I guess. But yeah, 9 episodes covering the first game, it looks like. Ready to jump into it. Very interested to see what they're going to end up doing with the Last of Us Part 2, because I know there was talk that they're going to split the second game into multiple seasons, which I think makes sense because the second game is like 2 or 3 times longer than the first one.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. That'd be cool. But yes, started Last of Us finally. I was going to wait till the whole thing was done and I can just watch it on demand. So that's what I'm doing now.
Smart.
Yeah. Well, that is it for level 56 of Thoughts and Players. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast. We are on all the podcast services. Yes, even iHeartRadio. You can also follow the podcast on the socials. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/Thoughts and Players, like it's all one word. We are on Instagram at Thoughts.Players. We are on Twitter at ThoughtsPlayer2. We are on TikTok at Thoughts Players. And we are also on the YouTube where you can catch video versions of our podcasts at Thoughts Players. We also have little things going up there. Like I said, there will be a Shadow Warrior review up there sometime after this goes out, maybe later in the week. Also, we got a Patreon. If you guys feel like, hey, we're really digging what you're doing, we're feeling the vibe, we feel like you guys are going to take off, we want to be part of the ride, we want to go to the moon with you, then go ahead and hop up on that Patreon. We have a $2, $5, and $7 tier. Each one gives you a little bit more than the other. But if you can't afford to change, if you ain't got the scratch, just a like and a share and a comment saying, hey, I disagree with Cory, for instance. Or I disagree with Cory, for instance, right? Anytime you want to do that, it's more than fantastic. We appreciate the support. But that is it for me. Fellas, is there anything else you want to say?
Goodbye.
Goodbye. We'll catch you on the next level.